I know I'm meeting you for the first time in person, and I'm super excited about it. The podcast went way better than I thought. I was very curious about your lives, and so far it's been the same with everyone I've interviewed. So we'll do questions, simple questions, and we'll take it from there. Um, Mahesh, let's start with you. After decades in the business, what still excites you about M&A?
Oh, everything exciting. So, I'm a sports person and adventure sports person. So, anything which get difficult, you get excited. And the most comparable to that is deal making. If it is very easy, then it's not a deal, it's a processing a deal. So, the new challenges in finding a solution between the two difficult problems is where actually the challenge comes. So, you can't be excited, there is no problem. So, every problem excites us.
Okay. And Ashish, what about you? You've also been doing deals for almost 20 years in the industry. Um, what keeps you going?
Because as Mahesh pointed out, no deal is the same and every deal is different. So it's not like you can run a playbook from the last deal to the next deal and so on and so forth. So almost every deal has 1, 2, 3 new things that you never encountered in prior deals and vice versa. So there's no template to apply. There are obviously patterns and archetypes to apply. So there's always something interesting that comes up in every deal. And then once you've kind of caught the bug, you tend to
One success leads to the other.
Even one failure also lead to another.
equally true.
You don't know.
Okay. Mahesh, on our podcast, you spoke about failing the eyesight test when you were applying in engineering college. And that's a story I tell others.
That was a secret I said to
That resilience in a way shaped you and told you that even though something seems permanent and impossible, you still cross it. How did that? Can you give us a deal experience where you use a similar resilience to push through that kind of mindset where the court said, "I'm sorry, you cannot be admitted," but but you said no, I'll still get in somehow.
So I think it's whether it's a deal or it's a life or it's a practical experience or whatever. We as human beings are always put against some odd things. When you take birth, it is difficult for mother, but as the difficulty, she becomes happy because she delivers. So your life starts with a difficulty, and the first time when the child gets up on the feet and he falls, mother is happy because she knows that this falling is standing up in the life. So every time when you face some problem or this failure, it is never ends there because there is a learning experience you gain from that experience. Take it ahead in a career. If you get too many things too easy in your life, you never know where the life will stop you. But if you get things a little with the difficulty, a little slowly, then whatever is just that telling the things is an outcome. Now, you made a point that when I realized that because of my one asset not being available to me, it was not really going to be until the age of 10 years that I was not even aware that what it means to be two eyes. But when I realized that because of that, even being a rank holder and with a good academics, I will not be getting admission at college, then I knew that it is my fight, it's my battle, I have to find solution within the problem. The two choices, be worried with the problem or find a logical way of making things happen without getting too much nervous, too much worried with that. And that's the common sense comes, okay, I just remember that and things are safe. Take it to the deal market. In the deal market, you deal with two different kind of people. One is a seller, one is a buyer. That is at the same point of time, one person thinks that stand for me to pay because not good enough, bad or whatever. Same time the other person has to be equally excited with a good business, time for me to start. That means extremely two opposite sides of each other, and as an advisor, you are supposed to balance the two. And that is possible only when you understand the situation where the other side will stop, what are their limitation. At the same time, how come those limitations become an opportunity for the other side? And this is complementary assessment is very, very important. Now at that time, the deal may fail, the deal may succeed. The deal fails happens only when you are not able to understand the key issues of this side and not being able to communicate at the right kind of passage to the other side. If that balance is maintained, deal generally doesn't fail. However, at times will come the deal fail because of multiple other reasons. And that's the time your ability to hold the client and the relationship matters. To make it simple, like the smallest of the deal which I have completed, maybe about 28 days, there was with United Fossil UP acquiring a company called Solis over Canada.
In 28 days.
28 days complete.
Okay.
From our first meeting to completion and money in the account, you must solve this deal at a given time. And the longest of the deal I was done it taken up 9 years time.
9
In
years.
both the situation, what is important, have that faith that yes, we are there, we are going to answer way more. In situation require a different kind of a mindset. You tend to see this is a template that this is the only way to do it. Keep changing a path without losing the end center. If you are able to hold your client tight, nothing goes wrong.
Thank you. So that's kind of what Ashish said. It's never the same. There's no one playbook and keeps on changing. Ashish, you said patience and human judgment define with bankers when we spoke. Can you recall a time when slowing down actually saved the deal?
I keep saying this to some of my team members that let's not confuse actions with progress. There are many, many times when, and there are other cases of mine who use this famous phrase, the Narasimha Rao style of government. Sometimes maybe the best thing to do is not do anything at all. And, not acknowledge the problem, give it some time. I think many times what happens is if you don't do anything, some circumstance, some variable changes on its own in the next, week, 10, 20 years, which may make the original need for action irrelevant. So, all the time, right? I think you just have to decide all the time that you may have all the facts, but it's probably not the right time for parties to engage. So you hold back. And I think that would just extend.
What's the longest deal that you took worse? If my first friend was 9 years, can you?
So obviously 9 years would happen with a series of peaks and troughs with interactions and things falling away for 3 years. There are many of those. For example, things that we have done now, our first interaction with somebody may have been 6 years ago. It obviously, the original idea and the final idea that results in a deal could have changed dramatically, right? Including the counterparty, the kind of deal one started with. But yeah, many of these relationships have resulted in deals with a 5-6 year gap.
When I say 9 years, that means holding the client consistently over 9 years from an engagement letter to completion getting phase. 4 failed deals, 4 different SPAs, 4 different parties, 5 different solutions. Each time we had to change our path. And every time we knew that yes, now I'll change the path to make sure that the deal will happen only to us. Including some active cross-border, one Japanese, eventually deal with a Japanese company.
Which company was that?
There are 2 things. One was GMP, which took 8 years and 9 months exactly. The other one we can say, so to say that transition, which start to completion was a D-Guard going to be about Sunflame in with the buy side. 7 years and about 4 months or so, buy side.
Why are you so precise? 7 years and 4 months. You actually remember that is the full.
I do remember things.
Okay.
I don't remember things that whatever my team will stop listening to me.
So the extra 20 years of experience, you can see.
Ashish, trust is fragile in icing deals. How do you build it quickly with clients and teams? Because you're always meeting someone new, you're networking, you're going to get introduced from your old clients. Is that the main path to building trust, or is there a quicker way?
It's human nature. I think some things can't be forced, right? You can be as direct and as upfront as you can be, but each client, each counterparty sitting on the other side of the table is a different person. Sure. The same trick doesn't work for everybody. Trust building can be instantaneous, i.e. in a single meeting, but many times it requires a much more concerted effort over a longer period of time. One can only moderate one's own approach, which is to be relatively consistent in the way you come across, it may or may not work with every person when they are listening.
Mahesh, was there ever a time when trust nearly broke, and how do you repair it?
Look, I think the trust is not worth being trust if it is broken.
That's fair.
And when I say so, I strongly believe that you can give something only what you have. If you have a happiness, you give happiness. If you believe in some religious thing, you'll give us gyan of the religious plant. If you're a afraid person, we'll create a scare around you. Like that, if you trust yourself, others will trust. The only time you can break your trust is when you break your own trust with yourself. If you have not lost the trust with you, I don't think that any man is that powerfully break your own trust. Now, the other side may break your trust. It can impact you only when you lose your trust. In the other side, break your can be become in the picture. What is it in a deal? It's a commerciality. What's your trust? It's not a bond of a family something. You have to be trustworthy enough to convey your point. If you're not able to convey your point effectively to the wrong side, at that time, it may mean that the deal look at your trust is broken. No. It is up to you to ensure that you convey it so effectively. It's not that you find the other or the other or the other. The day you lose your trust, there's only time your trust will be over. That is a binding system. It may be seen rightly, it may not be. But I believe that.
So that's a lot to do with also confidence, how you look at yourself, the story you tell yourself. Mahesh, you led your firm from one man to 1,000 plus transactions. What principle guides you when you're stuck on a 50-50 decision?
Look, there is nothing which is 50-50. Just telling one of my fellow professional here, there is nothing I told you. Sorry. Okay? There are no two people equal in this world. When I see it myself, my two eyes are not equal. The God has given these two equal, but actually they're never equal. So the world has never given two equal. We have to make it equal. Is sometimes we are equal, more equal in one side, sometimes we're more equal on the other side. But the deal making is always 50-50 mindset, right? They're never two equal. Now what happens in that situation? When the decision is two equal, is something which become unequal, that is actually where you put your weight behind that because no happen here. The two things are equal, there is something wrong. It cannot be equal because the buyer or seller or a day or night. I mean, when you're in day in India, maybe in America it's at night also. So by default, there's some equality comes in this case. But this is a way of looking things that at what time you feel is unequal. Wherever you feel that your weight comes along with the equals to 50, that will go better. And they say your intuition or your pulse comes the picture where the high chance of succeeding, and that is where your people become unequal. So this the belief I have is never equal. There is something unequality. You have to try and understand what is the unequal part, which is where you have to stitch the right direction. Now, from a transaction perspective, because we are all here deal maker and the purpose of this is a transaction equity. So when you feel that the two is equal and the both partners have to be equal partners, yes, that is good initially, but it's a shortcut. Try to find that who is that unequal within the roles. So maybe you have equal partnership, but unequal roles and responsibility. Like in some case, marketing is with you and my supply source is with me. Sometimes your administration is third professional, but the veto right the government chairman who is on one side. So within the equality, there could be unequality. So if you try to make everything unequal, that is trying to define the mother nature's character that God has not made two things equal. We try to equate and we try to balance. And balancing is an art. It is not that equality of ownership. How do you balance it? Giving a small example, in my transaction, there are two companies, both are giant, and both had the trust on us that we stitch a good transaction. On one side, they had a strong reach in India, and the global company had a lot of double market. The principal understanding that partnership be equal. But we realized that this will be unequal position in the time to come because at some time global market, India market, you have one advantage of constantly making something at a lower cost. But the cost advantage will be lost when the market benefit goes to other side because there is at a higher price. So we split the transaction to two parts. We form a one transaction, two transaction. In the domestic companies, we make the overseas company take a manual stake and they formed a new company in which the global supply chain company or marketing company in which they took a contribution. And both parties got whatever benefited. Now it made our work triple difficult, but it made the life easier for the both sides, and that is still a very successful partnership because what Indian country wanted, they gained the local advantage, and the rights of those business in India are exclusive. The rights of the rest of the market were given as to both sides. So both parties then opened up because the best of both parties came to the table.
How interesting. So you knew that the quality wasn't possible. You split up the transaction into two parts. And so it was a win-win for both the foreign entity.
Absolutely. Because we try to make them equal. This today's equality, after 3 years, get a crack with the vaccine. Because those who gain some advantage of the partnership, they try to flex their muscle. And that argument, then you try to control the other side. I have to put more capital. I have to change some bigger risk. I have to take some part of an action which may be diversification or cuts upon my market to export. Then what will happen? The others will block it because all such transactions will compulsory have some future rights and obligation on you. Non-compete working, substitution, this market defined go, this I go, I have some technology which I am not going to use. Many things will happen. So classic example when you see the largest car company of India, which is Maruti Suzuki, the two equal partner government of India and Suzuki got on a standstill mode because the best never came. The day it came 1994, as right, 94 around that period, and Congress government were in control, but yeah, Mr. Bhargav, who was the chairman and nominee of the government of India as a IS officer, put the board as a chairperson and they had a casting vote. They understanding the situation that to create doesn't work. That one share that time was for about 20 rupee, then the golden share of government, seeing the control and with the chairman's rule. Same Mr. Bhargav is still the chairperson and he is offered Suzuki. That one state of inequality was not created, Suzuki would not have been Maruti Suzuki in India. That is where the one share makes difference. And inequality with the equity. That doesn't mean the government of India did not participate in the benefit. But the two equal was there. How to make the two equal work? And the day it happened, the best of the product, that means everything came in the market. The rest is history.
Ashish, how do you keep your teams motivated under deal pressure?
I guess one doesn't have to do it, right? Because eventually the teams figure out that, I mean, I have a different philosophy on this, right? Let's say you have a team of 10, 15 people, right? In a certain duration of time, a certain number of people will figure out that this is for them, and the rest will self-select or auto-select themselves out of it. Because they're not used to this industry, or this industry is not one for them. But yes, I guess the important part is that there should be all the support needed for that period for them to get comfortable with the culture, the environment, and the learning from their seniors. But at some point, it's your period or you're self-selecting yourself out of it. That's what it becomes eventually. But everybody deserves that first period of wholehearted exposure for a certain duration of time with all the support from the firm, the franchise, to make that decision, right? If this is one for them or not.
How long do you give them? How long is that wrap up?
Well, the classic definition of investment banking is 3 years at best, 2 years associate, and so on and so forth. I think in some sense that's the nature of the beast, right? People kind of self-select themselves in the first 3 to 5 years, I would imagine, at best. And if they get past that, they tend to kind of stick with it, is my sense.
And when you started, when did you know that this is for you? Because you also started as an analyst and you said, okay, I'd like to grind and this is fun.
I didn't like it at that point, I can assure you. But yeah, I guess somewhere in that 3-4 year, 5-year mark, I suppose, which is why I'm here at the 20-year mark.
So what is that you did like the first 3 years there?
I mean, I enjoyed it, but obviously that first 3 years would never have had the same exposure to deal making that we get today, right? It would have been more lesser client interaction.
So within that, because you are part of a chain, or in the game with the first letter of the corporate side, what are the 1 or 2 items which you decide that you don't like this, but still I will wear? There are choose some good things. because it can't be compared that you have to work there only. You had a choice, organization had a choice. So you say you did right. Having said that, but your mind was not convinced and say, I still right. There was something you right, something you did not like. What is the something you did not like at that time being an employee of organization that we scale? Leadership is all about accepting everyone in the chain. At that 3 years, because many of our colleagues here are young enough to know that what is the three things in your mind?
So I just split that in two parts, right? So one is the question is about the deal making part, which is a generic thing, and then there's an organizational thing. But I guess at some fundamental level, I mean, all good organizations hopefully coalesce around some culture and some framework, right? So there's no perfect job by definition, right? I don't think it's perfect even today.
You have to make it.
You have to make it as perfect as you can. So yeah, so what I liked and what I didn't like, I suppose I liked the exposure or the clients that I was working with or the kind of transaction I was working on, needless to say. What I did like, clearly there was nothing that I didn't like enough to throw in the towel. But yeah, of course, the grind, the fear and mortality of deals, which you don't understand at the early stages of deal making.
Bosses, so
Yeah. Oh, the good and the bad.
He's left and the money part doesn't come.
A little bit, so that's right.
yeah. Okay. Ashish, you said the analysis gives the numbers, but instincts win the deals. How do you balance both? Because this is something that comes with experience. Or no matter how much AI comes, you have a sense of it. That's the exposure. That's why the number of years count.
Yeah, look, I mean, not running away from the fact that even today we tell our teams, hey, this analysis has to be rock solid or it has to be done by tomorrow morning. None of those things change. But I think what develops is that, in his case, obviously a lot many more years, but basically once you've done it for a certain number of years, for a certain number of deals, even ahead of the analysis, you have a sense, you can spell the possibility of a deal here or the possibility of a structure that could work or could not work. And the analysis kind of more often than not tends to re-emphasize that gut instinct. Not to say that there are, of course, times even today where certain interesting things may come out of the analysis that change your original perception. So, but it's just that, having done it over hundreds of instances over 10, 12 years, you sort of can like Tom Cruise does it in Minority Report. Not that much, but a little bit of that. You can pre-sense that this could work in this context.